Hi everyone, I'm Sally.
I'm Anne-Marie.
And welcome to our ice assembly for this week. Well, if you remember last week, we were in the belly of a big fish. But we managed to escape that, and now we are somewhere different in Jonah's story. And if you have a look, you might get some clues as to where we are. There are some buildings, and they're quite old, and they're flat-topped, which suggests we're in a warm country that doesn't rain very much. And if you listen carefully, you can hear the sounds of a market and people walking around in the distance. That's because we're in the city of Nineveh, the next place in Jonah's story.
But how did we get from the fish to Nineveh? Well, we're following Jonah through his story, aren't we? And last week we left him on the seashore, having been spit up by the fish. Very gross, very slimy, not very nice at all. But while he was inside the fish, Jonah had that time to think, didn't he? And he reflected on what God had asked him to do, and he decided to make a change, to trust God and to do what God had asked him to do, and actually go to the land of Nineveh. So that's where we are in the story, and in a moment we're going to go and see what happens when Jonah makes his way to the city gates and into Nineveh itself. But first, we're going to have a little game. Okay, so for our game today, both Sally and I have a collection of some wooden bricks, and our goal is to build a castle using the bricks.
Awesome.
Sounds simple, but first of all, that would be a little bit too easy, wouldn't be much of a game, so we also have our plushies. And I've got the camel today.
And I've got the toad.
And the additional challenge of the plushies is we're not going to put them in the castle, we're going to put them on our heads, like this. And we have to build our castle balancing our plushies on our heads. If the plushie falls off like that, we have to destroy the castle and start again.
That sounds really easy.
Shall we see? All right, let me re-establish the camel.
Okay.
And the winner will be whoever has finished their castle by using all of their blocks. Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Steady.
Go. Oh. Problem is, I can't really look at how this is.
Yeah.
Ah!
Alright, I don't actually know what my castle's going to look like yet. But castles normally have some sort of wall, don't they? So
that's quite important. I'm going to have a gate.
Oh, that's cool.
The lookout can go on the gate.
Have like a
no! Toad, you let me down! Okay, fresh start, new beginning.
My pile's fallen
yours
now.
is good. Okay, right.
Yeah.
There we go. I've kind of tilted it so I can actually see my hands.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Speed castling. Oh, she's doing so well.
Well.
Make sure I don't accidentally knock the table because I'm worried you knock the castle down.
Yeah.
That won't be.
What if the castle falls down?
Then you have to drop the plushie.
Oh no. Oh, that's no good. They're different sizes.
Really? Yeah, we have about 3 different Jenga sets going on here.
Oh, don't fall over.
Because many years of ice work has led to. I'm afraid. Right outside. Oh!
No, it hasn't all gone.
It hasn't. You're good. It's just a mild building problem.
Okay, just teething problems, but that has set me back. The plushie is remarkably stable, I have to say.
Well done, Camel. Can you have a word with Toad?
Oh my goodness! Oh goodness! It's all falling apart. We're buckling under pressure.
I feel like me and Toad are jamming.
You had a moment early on.
We did.
But, this is not going particularly well for me.
I don't know what's happening to the castle. It's got some columns.
No, I've realised I've only got half castle. Let's build the back walls.
These would be flagpoles. Oh! Last flagpole! Oh no! What? Too much. That was fun.
That was constructive and destructive all at once.
At the same time.
Well, yeah, there we go. That was that.
That's interesting because I made a mistake and I dropped my toad and I had a fresh start and I still was able to catch up, because I thought that would make me really step back.
Yeah, because you had to start completely afresh.
I did, yeah.
Like, part of my castle fell down, but that was only part of it.
Yeah.
But even so, even with a small setback of you having to like completely restart your whole thing, you still managed to catch up.
I actually was happier with my design the second time, because I had time to think about it. So
there we go. So maybe sometimes having to start afresh is not always such a bad thing.
Absolutely.
So today's story is all a little bit about some fresh starts, some second chances and some new beginnings. So why don't we check in with Jonah and see how he gets on when he visits Nineveh? Then the word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time. Go to the great city of Nineveh and proclaim to it the message I give you. This time, Jonah obeyed the word of the Lord and went to Nineveh. Now, Nineveh was a very large city. It took 3 days to go through it. Jonah began by going a day's journey into the city, proclaiming, 40 more days, and Nineveh will be overthrown. The people of Nineveh believed God, and a fast was proclaimed where no one would eat anything at all. And all of them, from the greatest to the least, put on clothes made of sackcloth to show how sorry they were. When Jonah's warning reached the king of Nineveh, he rose from his throne, took off his royal robes, covered himself with sackcloth, and sat down in the dust. This is the declaration and message that he sent out all across Nineveh. By the decree of the king and his nobles, do not let people or animals, herds or flocks taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink. But let people and animals be covered with sackcloth. Let everyone call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways and their violence. Who knows? God may yet relent and with compassion turn from his fierce anger so that we will not perish. When God saw what they had done, and how they had turned from their evil ways, he relented and did not bring on them the destruction he had threatened. He gave the people of Nineveh a fresh start.
So in today's story, we see that Jonah finally gave that message that he had avoided for so long and went on that whole rigmarole of stuff being swallowed by a fish, running away from God, because he didn't want to give that message. But today he did. And when he did, everyone heard it. And everyone believed it. From the people and the animals just living in the city to the king himself of Nineveh. Everyone decided they wanted to make a change and have a fresh start. Because Jonah gave them that warning, they were all able to make a fresh start and have their city saved. And they all got to see God's mercy.
So the interesting thing about this week's part of the story is that it's not really about Jonah. He's hardly in it at all. In fact, it's more focused on the people of Nineveh, how they heard God's warning and they made a change, as Sally said, from the very king at the top to all of the animals in the city too. What an amazing thing. But actually, it's not really even about the people of Nineveh. In fact, it's mostly about God and how he was able to give Jonah and the people of Nineveh a second chance and a fresh start. So many times throughout the Bible, we see that although there are lots of different people involved, lots of different characters, it's actually God who's like the main character of this great big story.
I wonder if there's ever been a time when you needed a fresh start. We all do things wrong or make mistakes sometimes. We all need to think about what we can change and do differently so that we can have a fresh start. Just like Jonah, he reflected on what he'd done wrong and put it right by listening to God and doing what God asked him to do. The people of Nineveh listened to God's message and decided to show God they were really sorry and willing to make a change.
God promises that we can have a fresh start too. We might need to change the things that we do so we can live a better way. Christians believe that when we say sorry to God, He is always ready to give us a fresh start. We believe that He helps us to change the things in our lives that are hurtful for us and for others. It might take hard work and be uncomfortable at first, but Christians believe that living God's way is the best way for us to live.
So who can help you to think about your fresh start? Is there something that you might need to change? Is there someone you might need to say sorry to? Who is there who can help you to make those changes? It's hard to make good choices and to make those good changes in our lives, so don't try alone. Talk to a friend or a grown-up that you can trust. For now, let's reflect on those questions, and maybe, if you'd like to, you can join in a prayer to ask for God's help in your fresh start today.
Lord God, thank you that you loved the people of Nineveh so much that you gave them a fresh start when they needed it. Thank you that you love us so much too, that when we need a fresh start, you give it to us. Please help us in those times to ask you for help and to ask you to help to make the changes that we need to. Amen.